But I would love for people to hear your story because I think it can give a lot of hope, a lot of insight into what it is we actually do. It's not crazy difficult.
Right.
It's a business, but it's not an extra, 40-hour a week job. And so we do have a structure that hopefully will make it pretty easy to follow. You came in and were you initially, because you started pretty fast, were you initially managing and then you found a manager later?
Kind of back up even a little bit more from that. I was an investor, right? So I already owned a lot of homes, which is
Yeah.
what allowed me to ramp up quickly. And I had already set up a couple of them for Airbnbs because that was kind of the direction that I was headed a little bit with in some areas, and I just pivoted, and they were already halfway set up for Airbnbs, which means they're already halfway set up for a group home, right?
True.
Then I just began. I kind of tested the waters, right? I mean, you hear an idea, and I think this is really what differentiates people from succeeding to people that don't. I only need to hear enough of the idea where I understand the concept and whether or not it's going to work, right? Can I implement this, and do I think this is going to work? And I mean, immediately it resonated with me, and I knew enough about what to do. I just took off.
What led to that fast success of filling up within 4 weeks?
The need. I think the need was there. It was just waiting for someone to do it, right? So it was nothing magical that I did. I'm not like exceptional at this. People were just in need and they were waiting, right? And so when this hit, they came running, right? So I filled the house up very quickly, and while that was filling up, I could not get the next one ready fast enough. It filled up very quickly, right? And so then within I think 3 months, I had four open, all full with a waiting list.
What brought you to Sober Living Riches and what did we provide?
Yeah, so I came into sober living riches very early, right, very close to the beginning, if not at the
Yeah,
beginning.
right at the beginning.
And I was you and I were members of another group, and you were talking about your success in sober living, right? So which was a very close niche to what I was already doing, with just a little bit of a twist with group homes. And so my business was cash flow rich. I was doing really well, so I invested. Like, there's this other piece that I'm missing, and it was an investment, right? To buy into sober living riches community and kind of learn about that aspect of it. And the additional information, I think more than anything, Andrew, it was understanding the opportunity that's there, right? Also, it's this whole thing for me is a ministry, and I love that aspect of it. And we have a lot of homeless people, we have a lot of disabled people that can't get housing around us, which is what led to my early success and has led to numerous tears and hugs of residents telling me how much they needed this and how they can feel human again. There was an untapped population of people from a completely different demographic that needed the same thing, and that was those in addiction. I've never been an addict myself, so I have a hard time understanding that aspect of it, but I have a heart for people, and I believe that they do need another chance, and that this was just a continuation of what I was already doing. I operate in a fairly small area in outside of Indianapolis in a particular county or straddling two counties, and that's where most of my properties are as well. So this gave me an opportunity to open another house in that same area, which I'd already saturated essentially, right? But serve a different population, right? So that's important to understand for me, and I think that. And once you get to have a certain number of houses, you can have multiple houses in the same general vicinity, but as long you have to understand who they're serving, right? And this was a really good opportunity for me to continue to grow in the same community that I already own property in, serving that community even more, but from a business perspective, serving a different client.
So, what's the biggest achievement that we've been able to help you with since being part of our community?
The confidence to go through it. this was very close to the group home model that I was already in, but there are some nuances that you'd have to deal with. And I think more than anything, sober living riches has helped me solve problems before they've become problems. Right, by
Yeah.
having the information going forward, I didn't make a lot of mistakes. Right, which I'm sure maybe you did,
That's where all the
painfully, and
content came from.
had to go through those, and so you've got a lot of sober houses, so you're now teaching that to others, and how to prevent those issues, and those are expensive sometimes, and sometimes they're just heartaches, sometimes they're inconveniences, sometimes it means that you're getting robbed in your houses if you don't take the appropriate steps, and just having the right systems in place to make your life a lot easier.
And since working with us, what does your business and real estate portfolio look like now?
Probably not the answer that you would expect to hear, but I've taken a lot of time off. But I am ramping up right now. I've been a member of Sober Living Riches for a while, and I have some big plans to open sober living homes in a wider area. You and I, prior to having this conversation, you and I chatted a little bit about that, and that involves getting into the more populated areas and getting into the state programs. I'm also looking at hiring a grant writer and becoming a 501c3. So that's something that's on my radar. But I think for as much as anything, Andrew, I took the last 3 months of the year off. So I didn't really do much of anything because I spent the first 8 or 9 months of the year bringing this business up, and then I just lived off of it. The
Yeah.
last 3 months of the year, I probably worked 1 or 2 hours a week, and just enjoying my family. I did a lot of fishing this summer,
You know what's
but I
funny?
didn't. It's and I say that's not probably the answer you expected, but that is success for me.
That is success. That's beautiful. It's literally when I talk to people and sometimes I share your story, I think like, man, every time I'm talking to Chad now, he's got five of these homes, but he's either hanging out with his kids or he's out fishing. That's all I ever see him doing. And that's actually a really good thing. What was the best part of working with us?
The community aspect of it, right? So I like that. I like being able to just bounce ideas off of other people that are in the same situation. And you're very accessible, and I like that. And I think that's probably the best part of it for me, right? And I like to hear other people's experiences. I mean, even in real estate, I've been in real estate for many years, like yourself, but I'm still every day I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching YouTube channels, I'm constantly learning because somebody's doing something different than I am, right?
Yep.
And in these niches like sober living, you almost have to be a part of a community like this at this point because it's so early in its inception and as a broad idea that you're missing out. You're not getting the information like you can about rentals, right? I can go find a hundred different YouTube channels that talk about rentals and 50 different podcasts, but when I want to learn more about what people are doing in sober living, there's only a couple of places, and there's only one place I really want to be, and that's Sober Living Riches, right? But there's just not that many places to go learn that from. So
Yeah.
it's important to be, especially in the early days of something like this. It's important to be a part of a community.
I appreciate that. If someone was on the fence about working with us, what would you tell them?
Well, I think more than anything, people are like, I can't imagine why people would be afraid or be on the fence about this other than fear, right? So I don't necessarily think that they should or would be afraid of working with Sober Living Riches, because Sober Living Riches is everything that you say it is, right? It's an opportunity to help people to profit from profit from properties and generate more cash flow than any other model out there. It is a very helpful and resourceful community of people that are doing the same thing, right? So you meet the mark there. I think if anything, it's fear so that are preventing people from wanting to do it. The cost of entry is very reasonable, probably more reasonable than it should be. I feel like fear is driving, holding people back from many things, right? Taking action, I think, is probably something people are not very good at. Okay, and that type of commitment and taking action is difficult for some folks. So probably not a very good answer to your question. Sorry.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's
I reset that and ask me
I just
again.
want honesty. So I love that. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you'd want to share with anyone who's on the fence or is just learning about sober living homes and could use some guidance and a coaching program?
I think as much as anything, this would go towards any type of venture that somebody would be embarking on, and that is taking action, right? And going back to that and doing something every day, right? You don't have to have all of the answers to a problem before you hit the problem. I am very much of the thought that if I have even half of the information that I need, I'm good enough to start. I will figure out the rest as I need it. I think that really holds people back a lot, right? Because they're trying to find that they're trying to get to the goal before they've even began, right? If they can't mentally get there, then they won't start.
I appreciate you. I
Yep.
actually do have to jump on another call.
All right, man.
And
Good to talk to you. Good to see
you
you.
too. I'll see you next time.